Radar update. My name is Daniel Vallis and welcome to our channel. I've updated the timeline. It's in the Google Drive. Definitely check out the link in the description box. Just added a bunch more astronomical information just to give you an idea, but we're going to review and look at some of it right now. We've talked about how the enemy has recently set up the arch at Dubai at the World Government Summit. A lot of messaging right there about that with the Nimrod type and the arch, along with the Tower of Babel concept. They're waiting for their idol shepherd. And they know a phoenix moment is going to help usher in their new world order, their new way of doing things. But they have also announced earlier that they're going to be setting it up in Italy on March 25th too as well. So I thought it very interesting how back to back they have these setups in a whole lot closer time frame than they've had before. But very interesting when we look at the time frame right now. Almost the entirety of the fourth watch, which started shortly before they put it up, and then shortly after their other event there. But it appears, though, the messaging might be pointing toward a max time frame of Palm Sunday. Because there's a lot of messaging with the palms and the Phoenix concept. Are they pointing toward Palm Sunday, which is the same day as Jupiter at opposition? And we've talked about that as the last border for Judah, this particular segment, when you divide the ecliptic into 12 equal portions. This is the division between the Alpha and Omega, the strength of the covenant. This is the mark, Jupiter at opposition, right here, the place of crossing, Nibiru. Are they pointing toward that, knowing that that's a max time frame when their idol shepherd is going to make his triumphal entry? Could be. We don't know for sure, but they've definitely been using the Phoenix and the Palm and the triumphal concepts a lot lately. And you remember they set up the first arch in April, after Jupiter had been at opposition on March 8th. So they've been doing all this messaging between these two markers. They are expecting the idol shepherd to come onto the scene very soon. And we've even looked at the Virgo constellation, how she's known for having in her hands the wheat, and that's Spica, but that's in her left arm, and her right arm is known for having the palm branch. And it's very interesting, it's recognized that from Spica on that half is associated with the palm, and where the other half is associated with the wheat. So the portion we are in right now, time-wise, is the palm portion, the palm emphasis. So it's interesting, the enemy has been messaging this palm messaging within the last 12 months. They are expecting their phoenix figure to come onto the scene. We talked about even the palm, even the classification for it is phoenix, because the palm tree has long been associated in a phoenix fashion, being able to come back. And we pointed out several months ago the enemy is very well aware of Jupiter at opposition. You'll remember when Jupiter came to where it will be along the ecliptic, once Jupiter goes to its retrograde, it's going to be coming back to the same spot along the line. But when it came to that marker place where it would be in the future, they put out the Google Doodle that those who are familiar with astronomy things recognize that they were showing Jupiter at opposition. They are very well aware of the celestial clock and what it's doing right now, and it does appear that they know there is a max time frame between these two opposition points, and it strongly appears that they're pointing to the upcoming opposition as a very important max time frame that they're looking forward to. And we've also talked about way back in March, 12 months ago, how they were pointing out to the exact times that we were observing and making emphasis to the dear Esther, and then even the exact day Jupiter was at opposition brightest, which was also the total solar eclipse. A lot of celestial events that caught our attention on that day, then how, of course, it was perfectly circling the hind leg and everything. But they were putting out their messaging of everyone's going through the rapture, their nomination of that video game for BAFTA awards. They made that big on that day. It strongly appears they expect the rapture to be taking place between these two markers, between these two opposition markers, in this window here. And they know exactly what the calendar is, the timing of it, and the celestial clock and the events and all that. And then we saw several days after that that they were aware of the triumphal entry too in connection with that. We talked about, and you probably heard about Leo DiCaprio, how he got his Oscar, and we talked about how they gave him a gold and silver one, how they melted down their jewelry just like the gods of Egypt, which was showing at that same time to make an idol. And he picked up his gold Oscar at the Academy Awards, but he didn't pick up the silver one until the day of the triumphal entry. Very interesting how they marked several things. They know exactly what time it is. They know the importance of the triumphal entry, and they know the true calendar, the one that we've been following. And we also noticed how they knew and were drawing attention to Palm Sunday, what it's colloquially known as. When Christ made his triumphal entry, it was associated with palms. And on that day, there is a big news mention about Phoenix, Arizona. All the presidential candidates at the time were traveling to Phoenix, Arizona, and giving their campaign speeches, drawing attention to the Phoenix concept on the day of Palm Sunday. It's spread over the 2-day weekend there, but the Jewish day straddles both of them. And the same day, there's a big news mention about singing Highway to Hell by AC/DC. And the same day, Seiko put out a very ominous warning about knowing the time and a gate on the exact same day as the Palm Sunday. The enemy knows exactly what time it is and what is going on right now. They had made a viral video about a tiny Rube Goldberg machine made of clock parts, and so they're drawing attention to that and emphasizing the heart of the earth and everything. But on Facebook, primarily, they were headlining the border announcement of it with the Seiko clock tower, the gate there, which was known as the Waco clock tower before they bought it out. And many people are familiar with the Illuminati cards. Debatable subject, but very interesting, very eye-catching. So it was very interesting. They announced the beginning of the year on Palm Sunday as subject relating to a Phoenix concept, announcing that they expect judgment and disasters to come. And if you'll remember, this was shortly after the peace and safety warnings were given out on November 13th. That's when they started and went up to about December 24th, the major ones. They know sudden destruction is coming. They know that a whole slew of combined disasters are coming to the world. And they're letting their disciples know to wake up, to be aware of the time. And when we as Christians have an understanding of the time, we should be waking up too. Sudden destruction is coming. But their video focus, the whole focus was on time, knowing the time. But again, a big emphasis on time and watches and the heart of a watch. That's what they installed there, bringing attention and announcing again, sudden destruction is coming. They know what time it is, and just like they were watching Jupiter opposition at the beginning of the year, and just like they were watching the triumphal Palm Sunday, it appears that they are leading up toward and know there's a time frame between these two events. They are expecting everyone to go to the rapture between these two events. We talked about the arches that they did set up. It was first set up at Trafalgar Square, and the special fountains there, the quatrefoil design there symbolizes a gateway to the underworld. But they set it up next to St. Martin's in the Field, very famous church right there. And at the same time, Alice Through the Looking Glass was hitting theaters and trailers and all that, which is also about time. Big emphasis on time. We've talked about this. And they were emphasizing even in the trailers, coming from the heart of the earth with the quatrefoil designs throughout it. Very powerful motif throughout it all. And in the Alice, they depict that exact same church where they were setting up the arch, picturing and symbolizing how they expect their idol shepherd to come onto the scene. But they know the church that is awake, that is rising up, she's going to fall back. There's going to be a evacuation of the diplomatic corps first, and then the gloves come off. Then the son of perdition is going to be unrestrained. But the church, the rapture is going to happen first. And then when they set it up in New York City, right across from a church, very famous church, you can't really see it, but it's right beyond the trees right there. But we also talked about how it symbolized the rejection of the fountain of living water. That also goes with the Aquarius picture too, the water bearer, the one who came to bring and pour out the living water. There's so much symbolism here, open rebellion and rejection of God. And we talked about the church that they set it up at was modeled right after St. Martin's in the Field, just like Trafalgar Square. The placement of both these is mirrored exactly. The churches are almost identical, particularly when you compare the steeple areas. And they've been letting their disciples know that the church is about to make her evacuation, her fallback. And that is going to happen first sometime in this time frame between these opposition points. They know what time it is. They don't know the day or hour either. But they know the time frame, that it's time that the bride needs to be waking up and rising up and going out to meet the bridegroom. We also talked about how the church had some connections to the designer of Washington, D.C. There's a lot of esoteric meaning throughout all of this, but he's the one who laid out the esoteric designs in Washington, D.C. of the streets and all that. And there's so many occult messaging with the obelisk and Baal, so many connections. And you can find countless videos and resources about it. But the particular church that they set the arch up was connected with Washington and also the founding of America. And the same designer who designed Washington, D.C. designed the unique altarpiece as well. But a historic painting there is of the American seal, which is actually a disguised phoenix. That's what it is. And we've covered before, historically, this is well known that they wanted to have a phoenix on the seal. And a little one there showing it in the flames, actually. So there's no secret that they wanted to have a phoenix on our national seal from the get-go. These were in early committees and design committees. But they explained they wanted to have a palm tree on top of their pyramid with the explanation that the palm tree, when burnt to the very root, naturally rises fairer than ever, but later crossed it out and replaced it with the eye of providence. So they wanted to have a palm tree, and they even explained the phoenix concept. The palm tree represents the phoenix concept. So these motifs in the national seal and later illusions with the palm are very deliberate. They know what it represents. The phoenix, destruction. America is the phoenix. Imagine a phoenix right here. That's what they wanted to have up here on top of the pyramid. They know that's what's going to lead to their capstone, getting their new world order completed. There's going to be a phoenix stage. That's what they wanted to have right up on the top there. And the eagle is really a disguised phoenix. And that little tuft there is one thing that gives it away, that by heraldry it's really a phoenix. But take note here that the eagle is facing toward the olive branches, toward peace. The enemy is expecting their idol shepherd to make his triumphal entry, and that will only happen once the Son of Man is revealed, Jesus Christ, and he picks up his purchased possession, and then the son of perdition will be unrestrained, and he will make his triumphal entry. And it appears that they know it's going to take place sometime before Palm Sunday, before the next Jupiter opposition, in this time frame. All during this time, between those two opposition points, they've been putting out the messaging around the world of the Palmyra Triumphal Arch. The Phoenix concept. The Phoenix is going to be used to bring in their plans. And even right now in the UN Security Room, they have the Phoenix concept center all of it. The kings of the earth are working even now to get everything ready to hand power over to the son of perdition. So it was no surprise almost, February 16th, just the other day, Time came out with a new cover emphasizing chaos. Order ad chaos. Order out of chaos. Similar motif in the occult as well. The timing of this is not accidental. They're emphasizing nothing to see here. You don't need a watch. You don't need to pay attention. Go back to sleep. But a storm is coming. The storm is coming. Here's the complete cover. They know a storm is coming. They know sudden destruction is coming. And they are pretending like everything's okay. These are the days of Noah. Everything's going to get better. Blah, blah, blah. But one thing that caught my attention here, particularly, is the eagle, the seal, on the desk. Notice how it's facing the other way than on the seal. And if you go to the White House Museum, it makes mention that since this panel was installed prior to Truman's decision to turn the head of the eagle in the presidential seal to face the olive branch of peace, the eagle in the Resolute's, the desk, modesty panel faces the arrows of war. So notice the eagle on the front of the desk faces the arrows of war. So it's very interesting. They're bringing attention to the Phoenix concept, front centering it almost, and the fact that it's facing war, and they're emphasizing the chaos. Order ad Chaos, the Phoenix concept, the Novus Ordo Seclorum. They know sudden destruction is about to come. And we talked recently, they put out the Person of the Year time associating Trump with the palm. He is the one that this is all going to happen under. He's a Nimrod figure type. He's not the Antichrist, but he's the figure of it, bringing it in with the Trump Tower and other tower symbolism. But they made it clear he is associated with the palm as well. All this messaging is going on right now. A Phoenix concept, destruction, decrepancy. It's all going to give way to the palm Phoenix concept. So here, shortly after that, they emphasize another palm, a disguised palm, the Phoenix facing the arrows of war. But you have nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. But a storm is coming. A storm is coming. Sudden destruction, the Bible warns about, is coming. And so again, they've been bringing attention that their pyramid work, their tower work, is almost here. But they know there's going to be a Phoenix moment. There's going to be sudden destruction that brings it onto the scene. It appears they're pointing to a final time frame, also possibly maxed out at Palm Sunday, just like they drew attention back at the first Jupiter at opposition and the triumphal entry itself as well. They know what time it is. And we have to remember this. We're on our wise men's journey here. We've been on it for a year, 7 months, and a little over 17 days. We're on our wise men's journey. But as you remember from the wise men's story, they were not the only ones looking for the king either. Satan and the angels, even in heaven, do not know the day or hour. They are looking at the same time frame just like we are. We are not the only ones looking for the king. Herod is as well. And so this is why we must be sober. We must be vigilant. There's going to be a lot of distractions. There's going to be a lot of disinformation. The enemy wants to send people running off in all sorts of different directions. But they know this is the time to be paying attention. We're called to be wise, like the wise men. To be wise brides, to be wise servants, to be wise sheep, to be wise as serpents, to be aware of what the serpents are doing, but to be as harmless as doves. But we are called to be wise, to be observing what is going on right now, knowing the time, that now it is high time to expect that our redemption is drawing nigh. There are so many celestial signs that have been drawing our attention. We've recently talked about the sun at the water bearer, and I've marked on here now, made it a little clearer, the start point when the sun was entering the water bearer area, and it's going to be at the Aquarius, the water bearer, during this whole time. And because the great fish is actually connected to the water bearer, it's actually the same, a shared star with the foot there, it's going to be at the great fish for several more days too, so we're keeping in mind the sign of Jonas. And that's a strong warning of destruction coming, and we are already expecting sudden destruction, so we're still paying attention to this sign. Being vigilant, but keep in mind that the sign of Jonas, the possible sign of Jonas, is in context of the water bearer, and is often understood to be pouring the water into the mouth of the great fish. So we have some verses here about the water bearer too. And then the sun's going to be at the fish a few days past that there. So this whole time frame that we still see up to the end of the fourth watch and even up to Jupiter opposition, two major symbols that the heavens are drawing our attention to. The story of the one who brings the living water, the Lord, the fountain of living waters, the one the world rejects, the one that they mocked with their arch that they set up in New York City. We're reminded of him right now, the fountain of living waters, right here during these times. How he came to redeem the fish, and how he came to make fishers of men. Our Redeemer, the Alpha and Omega. Now, in our last video, we talked about the Pleiades. And I just wanted to mark on here, you'll see an arch that goes down. The 7 stars, the Pleiades, set in May. Which means they're visible now if you go out shortly after sunset and it gets dark. You'll see Pleiades almost straight overhead. But it's going to be slowly getting lower and lower in the sky, and come May, you're not going to be able to see it anymore for about a month. So we're in an interesting time frame. There is no sign associated with the rapture. We do not know the day or hour. We know the association with Pleiades in the church. So it's interesting that overhead right now, we have this celestial reminder of the church too as well. The redeemed, that he came to redeem, the fountain of living waters. And it just should catch our attention that it's going to slowly be fading off the scene. And I also put a little timeline down here at the bottom. We are in the 4th watch that started back on the 9th. And a watch is divided into 3 hours. So you'll see a division here. Here's 1 hour, and here's another hour marker, and here's another hour marker. But about an hour and a half before dawn, typically, is when it starts to slowly brighten up. So an hour and a half to an hour before sunrise, that's called astronomical twilight, where it's usually at the start of that is where you pretty much see all the stars, but not till about an hour and a half after sunrise or sunset will it be completely as dark as it will be. And then typical nautical twilight is going to be 1 hour before sunrise, starting at a half hour after to an hour, and most of your stars that you'll use for navigation will be easily seen during this time. So that's why it's called nautical twilight. And then a half hour before sunrise is where you can see a few stars, a lot of the brightest ones, but there's still enough light where you really don't need flashlights or anything. It's still pretty bright. It's brightening up outside, and you can do a lot of things without artificial lighting because it's so close to the sunrise. And so this is interesting for us to consider in these pictures of the night watch, that the darkest part of it is from the start of the 4th watch toward about the middle, maybe a little bit beyond that. This area here is really where you need your lamps to be burning bright, because this is where you need the light the most. Once it starts lighting up, you need your lamps less and less. And really, once you're in civil twilight, you really don't need artificial lighting. Even before the sun is right up over the horizon, there's enough light out. So when we're told to have our lamps burning, and he wants to find us with our lamps burning, that means picture-wise, it's still dark. It's still dark. And so this is something for us to consider. He gives us the pictures of the night watch and repeatedly emphasizes that this is a picture when he wants us to expect him in. And he told us he wants to find us with our lamps burning. Makes that big emphasis, particularly with the wise virgins too as well. So we should be looking and noticing we're in a 4th watch now. We know it's going to be dawning, and we know the lamps burning would be right in this area where we are right now. We have great expectation at this time. Great expectation. So much coming together. And particularly, we can look up and we can see the reminder of the church that he starts out the book of Revelation with. So we can see in the heavens a picture of us. We can see a picture of the redeemed, a picture of the church even, reminding us that he's coming to pick up his redeemed possession. If you go outside and right as the sun sets, typically you'll see just Venus. But then if you wait an hour, it'll get dark enough to where you can see most of the constellations, pretty much most of the stars that you'll see. And this would be around the start of the astronomical twilight. So you're going to see almost everything that you'll be able to see with the naked eye about an hour after sunset. For the really, really faint stuff, you really have to wait an hour and a half. But just an hour after sunset, you'll be able to look straight up, and you'll be able to see Pleiades right up there. And again, you'll easily be able to see Orion. Orion right there, just follow the belt up, and Sirius shines really brightly, so that's usually going to stick out. Venus and Sirius you'll see very easily, but that will kind of help point you toward, okay, here's Orion, and then just follow that line up to Pleiades. And so we can look up right now. We can lift up our heads and see a reminder of that is the picture used in the book of Revelation with the churches. And that is who he is coming to pick up. We have this picture right here to remind us when we look outside. So many celestial signs. And in a few months, by May, it's going to be all the way down at the horizon at the time of sunset, though. So we keep that in mind. We are running out of time. We have celestial pictures showing us the church is running out of time. We need to be waking up. We are called to watch while it's dark, while people are sleeping. And the big emphasis is that we should not be sleeping. We've had the events of the almond trees reminding us we need to stay awake, we need to stay awake, even though it's dark, even though people think there's nothing to see. There is so much to see because we are expecting our Lord to show up. In the book of Revelation, it should catch our attention that he starts out by bringing our attention an association of the church with the 7 stars. He starts on the very first page mentioning that this whole book of Revelation is written to the churches. And he wants it sent into the 7 churches which are in Asia. Not in Jerusalem, not in Israel. The picture of the churches in Revelation is not connected with Jerusalem or Israel. It's in Asia, Asia Minor, unto Ephesus, and unto Smyrna, and unto Pergamos, and unto Thyatira, and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea. All these are in Asia. None of them are in Israel. When you look on a map, down here is Israel, Jerusalem, and then all the way up here in Turkey. Scattered around are these churches. And this is who the book of Revelation is written to. The Gentile churches. Of course, Gentile includes Jews who are saved too. It's all tribes, all nations. But he's emphasizing and even drawing a picture, in a sense, associating the church is Gentile. It's largely Gentile. And you'll notice he reads them in order. It actually forms a circle. And he stands in the middle. That's the picture there in the very first page of Revelation, emphasizing the concept of the Gentile churches. And he shows that he has the 7 stars in his hand. And he just mentioned the 7 churches. And this is encapsulating the picture of the churches. All these 7 churches are showing different variations that encompass and portray the church. And he's showing John that he holds these 7 stars, these representatives of the church, in his hand. He mentions down in verse 20, the 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches. And angels are messengers. That's what the word means. And it could mean a heavenly angel that we're familiar with. It could refer to that there is a heavenly angel that is also a representative in the heavens for the churches too as well. But it's also referring to the pastors, the elders, whatever you want to call it, the angels. And this is what he starts out the letters to the 7 churches with. Chapter 2 and chapter 3 are letters to the churches. But he starts out with, unto the angel, the messenger, the pastor, the elder of the church of Ephesus write. These things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand. He's emphasizing to John and to the churches the correlation between the 7 stars and the churches, primarily the leaders or their representative, their messenger, the messenger that God has sent to the particular church assemblies. This is who the letters are for. And he's associating that with visual heavenly stars, making the connection of what represents the church in the book of Revelation. It's not Virgo, it's not the woman, it's the 7 stars. On the very first page he's telling us this. Don't let anybody tell you that the signs have changed. No, he's telling us what represents the church. And then he starts chapter 3 too as well, which is another letter. And unto the angel of the church in Sardis write, these things saith he that hath the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. And when we look at the ecliptic, up here is Pleiades, which represents the church. And even the formation of the stars is very similar to the formation of the churches, where they're located in Asia Minor in Turkey. Right up there, almost a visual representation of what he's describing in the book of Revelation. The church, that's what represents the church in the book of Revelation. And on the other side of the ecliptic is Israel, Jerusalem, the woman, the embodiment of the descendants of Jacob. Out of his descendants would eventually be born the Messiah, who would be born of a woman who would be a descendant of Jacob. Mary was the female representative who was the favored one chosen to be the representative, and she was still from within Israel too as well. So the woman is a dual representative of Israel in a larger sense. That's a macro level. And on a micro level, Mary was, in a sense, a representative of Israel. It's both. But you have Israel over here, and you have the church up here. Far apart, just like Jerusalem is far apart from Turkey. He's making a distinction in the book of Revelation. He's telling us what all these things represent. On the very first page, he's telling us the church is associated with the 7 stars. And in our Revelation chapter 12 signed booklet, definitely download it. You can find a link in the description box. But I've added 3 more pages that cover a lot of this recent material with Pleiades and Orion and the church and what the woman represents. So this is very good information when someone tries to tell you that the signs have changed. No, that's deception. Don't listen to that. The book of Revelation tells us on the very first page what these signs mean. So we got the church is the 7 stars. And completely different area than Jerusalem. And even the 7 stars themselves represent the physical layout of the churches. It's even very similar to the Pleiades. Not exact, but very, very similar. When you compare the two, very similar. So Jesus told John, the 7 stars represent the church. That's what represents the church. I've looked at different mentions of the Pleiades throughout Scripture, and God's always drawing attention to these 7 stars. And He's the one who's often saying, look at it, seek Him. When you look and see these stars in heaven, remember who made them. The Lord made them. God made them. The Creator made them. Also note the connection between the 7 stars and Orion, Pleiades and Orion, Orion and Pleiades. These two go together, and this connection is mentioned in other places too as well. But we have another page too that helps you visually find it and talks about some of the clusters in the Pleiades as well, and how Orion, which is right next to Taurus, the bull, Pleiades, these two ideas, these two pictures are connected. Our Redeemer, our coming Prince, the Mighty One, the Strong, the Branch, coming forth. He is coming for His bride, for the church. Beautiful pictures here. And he, again, emphasizes and makes it clear the 7 stars represent the church. But we also know from Scripture that the woman represents Israel. On a macro level, represents the collective descendants of Jacob. And on the micro level, she was the favored representative of the collective daughters of Israel to bear the Messiah. So the virgin metaphor is for both. The Israelites and Mary particularly, macro and micro. And that's the picture in Revelation chapter 12. It's the Israelites, which is far away from the picture that Christ gave of the church. So definitely download the Revelation chapter 12 sign. A lot of resources there and a lot of valuable information. Makes a great reference. Print it out. We are running out of time. We are at an important time. We know we should be waking up. It is dark right now, and we need the Lord for strength and wisdom as we go forward. But we see the enemy is very busy, and so we must be wise. We must be like the wise men, like the wise virgins, like the wise servants, observing and going forward with what we do know. And as we go forward, we get more wisdom. The Lord gives us more insight onto very particulars as we go forward. And as we go forward, it does us really good to go outside, to look up, to lift up our heads, just like He tells us, and we will know that our redemption draweth nigh. We can go outside and we can look up at the stars. We can see Orion, the picture of our Redeemer, our coming Prince. We can see the picture of Pleiades, the reminder of us, the picture of the church that He's coming to pick up. We can go outside. You could look at this an hour after the sun sets, just with your naked eyes. You don't need binoculars. You don't need telescopes. It's very easy to see. Like He said, just go out, look up, lift up your head. There's plenty to see. Plenty to see. The more we go outside and look up and are reminded of the heavens, the more we are reminded of our Creator. We're reminded of our Redeemer. It helps set in the reality of what we see right now, what we're studying, the mental stuff we're studying right now. When we go outside and look at the stars, it becomes so much more real to us. Of saying, wow, this is a reality, this is going on. Especially when we remember all the other celestial signs we've seen over the past just 12 months. Not to mention the year and 7 months of our wise men's journey. We can go outside and be reminded that there is a tapestry of redemption. We are called to be awake right now. We are called to go forward. And just like the stars, we are called to shine bright as well. We are reminded of Amos 5:8. Seek Him that maketh the 7 stars in Orion. When you go outside and you look up and you see Orion and see the 7 stars, remember this passage here, Amos 5:8, and we got it in the Revelation 12 book too. But he says, seek him that maketh the 7 stars in Orion. When you see those, seek out who made them. And turneth the shadow of death into the morning, and maketh the day dark with night, that calleth for the waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. The Lord is his name. When we look into the stars, we should be reminded of our Creator, be reminded of our Lord. He is the one who made them. We shouldn't worry about the astrology junk and the fiddle-faddle and what the Freemasons think about it. No, just forget all their distortions. No, when we look into the heavens, we can say our Creator made that. That's his. The Lord is his name. He is the one who made the 7 stars. He is the one who made Orion. The Lord is his name. The heavens declare his glory. And so when we look up into heavens, let's give him the glory for what he has made. Isaiah 40:26. Lift up your eyes on high, and behold who hath created these things, that bringeth out their host by number. He calleth them all by names by the greatness of his might, for that he is strong in power, not one faileth. Why sayest thou, O Jacob, and speakest, O Israel, my way is hid from the Lord, and my judgment is passed over from my God? Hast thou not known? Hast thou not heard that the everlasting God, the Lord, the Creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? There is no searching of his understanding. When we look up into the heavens, when we lift up our eyes on high, we should be reminded of who created these things. There is no searching of his understanding. He fainteth not. He's not weary. He is the everlasting God, the Lord, the Creator of the ends of the earth. He is the one who made these things. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increaseth strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. And they shall walk and not faint. When we go outside, when we lift our eyes on high, we are reminded of who made the stars, who created us. And he is the source of our strength, and he is the source of our wisdom and understanding, and we can go before him and ask him for strength, ask him for refreshing, ask him for strengthening of our faith. He is the one we need to be reminded of. When we look up into the heavens and we see the 7 stars in Orion, we seek him who made those. We are reminded that we should be seeking him. The Lord is his name. The wise men sought him, and we are called to be wise men too, to diligently seek him, and he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So let us rise up with what we do know. Let's go forward and ask the Lord for wisdom as we go forward. And let us look up, and let us lift up our heads, for we know that our redemption draweth nigh. And every man that hath this hope in him purifieth himself, even as he is pure. We examine our life right now and ask the Lord for wisdom of how to live wisely, of purifying ourselves, of how we should be casting off the works of darkness, how we should be putting on the armor of light, what we need to do to purify our lives so we are shining brighter, striving for things of righteousness, things that are right, things that he finds acceptable in his sight. Daniel 12:3. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. Let us be the wise men. Let us be the wise bride. Let us be the wise servants. Let us be wise to do the things that are right, the things that he calls us to do at this time. Let us exhort one another. Let's provoke unto love and to good works at this time, and so much the more as we look up, we lift up our heads. We see that our redemption draweth nigh, and we see that the day is approaching. How we live now will be reflected for all of eternity. He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Let us seek him with our heart and with our life, rising up, casting off the works of darkness, putting on the armor of light, and going out to meet him, drawing nigh to God at this time, and serving Jesus Christ, first and highest above all else. Maranatha.